I think I can talk the whole day about this topic.
Sure.
Yeah, I will share my screen. And
Yeah, able to see your screen, yeah.
yeah, cool. So let's start. I want to talk about how to become a business application superstar in 5 steps. So at the end, you will get a checklist. It's not a technical one at all. And we will see what do I mean with building a business application and who can do this and so on. So first, I want to introduce myself so you know who is talking here for the next 45 minutes. My name is Nicole, and I'm from far away in Germany, so it's a little bit earlier for me than for you. And I work there as a team lead for cloud workplace solutions. I'm doing some stuff as a modern workplace consultant, so I tell all our customers how to work with the tools in Microsoft 365. And before Microsoft 365 was there, I was working with SharePoint, especially. So you see here my focus topics are related to these tools. So I'm talking about social intranet, collaboration, modern workplace. And what I really love is the Power Platform, because nowadays so many more people have the possibility to build solutions as it was in the past. So in the past, you always needed a software developer for all this stuff. If you want to stay in contact with me, I like to invite you to my Twitter account or to my blog. I always love to talk with other people, and even in this year where everything is going crazy, I think one of the positive things is that the world gets a little bit smaller, and we can do events like this one. So it doesn't matter where you live, you can participate in every event here. So that's my point. So thank you to the sponsors, because without sponsors, even online events are not possible. So I want to extend it a little bit more, because I also want to thank the organizers, because without the organizers, we wouldn't have this event also. Yeah, and I hope that you had a good day so far, that you heard so many things. I like to talk about these topics and to learn something. And even in my sessions, I learn something new every time. Yeah, and when we start with the topic of my session, I want to introduce you to Tanya. Tanya is one of my best friends. She works in the same company as I, but she has a little other focus. So I'm working as a consultant for modern workplace and so on, and I tell everybody how we can build business solutions. And Tanya is more a kind of an end user. So she's working for HR, and a few days ago, she talked to me and said, Nicole, we need a business application. You have no idea how complex our recruiting process is feeling. I don't think that it's really complex, but if you see, okay, this department is doing it in this way and the other department is doing it a little bit different and so on. And I, as a recruiter, I have to know everything. So if a candidate calls me and he wants to know what's going on with his application, then I need to answer him very quickly. And if we have some interviews and I have to manage the meetings for the interview, then I have to talk with the people in our departments, and I have to talk with the candidate. I need to get all the rating results later on. I need to manage the documents. Yeah, and I have a solution for this, but it's not feeling really professional. So we need a business application. And I said to Tanya, yeah, that's no problem. I'm completely there with you. So let's do it in a professional way, even at the start of your request. So what I ask my customers, and now I ask Tanya these questions, what about our current business process? So please, Tanya, explain how are we working in our recruiting process? Do we have different roles? Do we have different process steps? Where do you need which user role? And how are you feeling about this current business process? So you came to me and you said, we need a business application, but why did you do this? So there may be some pain points, I call it in this way. And Tanya was thinking about this, and she explained me the business process. And I said, okay, for me, as I'm not doing the job of a recruiter every day, it doesn't seem to be so complex. And Tanya said, yeah, if we write down everything, it's not so bad. So maybe if we change this a little bit, and if we change this a little bit, then it would be great. That's my second question. So if a customer tells me what's about his current business process, then my next question is, should we change something? And for Tanya, as she was explaining the business process, I recognized that it wasn't really bad, but she didn't have a complete picture of her business process. And in some cases, that's enough. But in other cases, and that's most of the time, you need a change of your business process. Yeah, and I said to her, that's really important, because if we are thinking about a business application, so we are talking about about an IT solution, then we need to know if we want to support the whole business process with this IT solution, because in some cases you need a lot of flexibility. And Tanya said to me, yes, there's one point when she is managing the meetings, so the appointments for an interview, then she only sees, okay, these 3 people in our company will participate in this interview. And she gets some ideas when this meeting can take place. And then she needs to call the candidate, because she has no idea at which time the candidate can participate in a meeting. Yeah, and she said to me, yeah, we could build a business solution for this, so we would have some kind of a public calendar. So, but it's not worth it. So let's do this outside of the system, and we focus on our inner process. So how can we rate applications? How can we manage a lot of applications for one position? And that would be enough for the beginning. Yeah, and as we were talking about this, Tanya told me that she started building the first version of her business application. And as I said to you in my introduction, I started with SharePoint in my career, and then I went to Microsoft 365. And Tanya and I, we are friends for a long time. I told her a lot about SharePoint in the past. And then she said to me, yeah, Nicole, I started with a SharePoint list. I added some fields, and I thought that would be a nice idea. I changed the order of the fields, and then I added some simple validations. I asked her, oh, you added validations. What did you do? She said, yeah, there are some mandatory fields. I said, okay, validations could be something different, but that's fine. So I understand what you did. And as you can see here, it's an older SharePoint version. So that's a screenshot from an on-premise SharePoint. So Tanya did it in an on-premise environment. And then she explained me a little bit more, because this was not enough for her. And I don't know why. I think I talked a lot of times about the Power Platform, but for Tanya, InfoPath was the best tool ever. And she said, oh yeah, I like this. I used the InfoPath Designer that was part of the Microsoft Office suite in the past. Nowadays, it's not on our systems anymore, but she found a way to get the older InfoPath Designer on her PC. And she used it from a power user perspective. So she created electronic forms. As you can see here, she designed some kind of checklist and so on. So it was up to her what she really needed in her electronic form to manage applications and the personal information of a candidate. Yeah, and she said to me, yeah, that was the easiest way. So I started with my SharePoint list, and then I had all these fields which I need. And then I said, okay, I click on the button to open this in InfoPath, and now I can design everything as I want it to be. And first of all, she changed the layout of the form. So she wanted to have some of our corporate identity, so the colors and the fonts and so on. And she also created multiple views because she didn't like the idea that she gets all the fields one after the other on one page. So she added different views, and then she added buttons to navigate between these views. And the first way was to split up the candidate information from the application or the position information. Yeah, and she also added an action to send the entered data via email. So that was her solution to inform the contact persons in the departments. And she also added more validations than the mandatory fields. So, for example, she added a rule that if you select a special value in a drop-down, then 2 or 3 fields become visible. And in the other cases, these fields won't be visible, or that you have conditional mandatory fields and so on. Yeah, and Tanya did this as many of my customers did this in the past. And then finally, she got a problem. So she couldn't fulfill all her requirements with SharePoint and InfoPath. And she was also thinking about if it's really a good idea, because these are really old tools. Yeah, and what did she do? She talked to me, and I talked to my colleagues, and we said, okay, Daniel, he has time. He's one of our software developers, and he said, okay, I can do this. Tanya, don't worry about this. But to be honest, this old SharePoint version and InfoPath, that's a prototype. So I will take this as an inspiration. You tell me what you really want, and then I build you some stuff. And I will use HTML. I will create a PowerShell script to install everything. Maybe I need a web service on the .NET platform. And did you hear about SPFX? I can build really cool web parts for you. Yeah, and Tanya said, okay, everything's fine, but she thought, I hope that he understood me. And she asked herself, what is he doing, or what is he talking about? So you see, they don't use the same language. Daniel is talking about technical stuff, and he's really excited that he can build a recruiting solution now. And he said, okay, let's this power user stuff as InfoPath and so as it is there. And Tanya, she has to trust that Daniel understood everything and that he will build the right recruiting solution for her. So we come to the question, why don't we proceed this way? I think the answer is really clear because Tanya knows her business process the best. And wouldn't it be a great time when she could build the business application on her own? She already started with it, so maybe she used old tools, but she used tools to build a recruiting solution, and she couldn't fulfill all her requirements. So one solution would be that she says, okay, it's not so important, we can go with this business solution. Or in some other case, it would be great that she could stop here with an 80% solution, for example, and then a software developer adds some stuff. So he is fulfilling the gap. Yeah, and that's the idea. So you see, I'm a Lord of the Rings fan. I need some nerd stuff in every session. So the world has changed. And if you know Lord of the Rings, then you maybe you have the same idea as I. So during Lord of the Rings, so many things change. And what's really surprising is that these 4 hobbits become the heroes of the story. So at the beginning, you see, okay, there's some small people, they're living in a green area. They are living in peace and harmony. There are no adventures. They're only living their lives, and they are happy with it. And then there's some kind of an impulse from outside, and they have to change something. And they would have 2 options. The one would be, okay, I know that something is going on there, but I do the same as I did before. But they don't act in this way. They say, okay, let's do this adventure. We can do this. And here, that's a scene very at the end of the story. Everybody's taking a knee, and they're standing there. If you look into their faces, you see, okay, they can't really believe what's going on. So in one of the scenes later, you see that they are proud what they achieved. And my message here is, it's time for the makers. So take the responsibility, and you can build your own app. It doesn't matter that you are not a software developer. There's so great tools now out there, so which are provided by Microsoft, but also by other vendors. And here, if you go to office.com and you log in with your credentials, then you may see a similar view as I have here. And you see that there are a lot of tools. And in some cases, you don't see the right way how to start with these tools. I have a tip for you. If you want to build business solution, then go to the tools belonging to the Power Platform and decide with which one you want to start. So the Power Platform has mainly these 4 tools. Power BI is more from a reporting perspective. So if you want to analyze data and if you want to identify some trends, for example. PowerApps, that was the one I started with. PowerApps is building apps or custom forms. Power Automate, it's going hand in hand. So many people also start with Power Automate because you can build workflows. Maybe you already are familiar with SharePoint and you want to build an approval process or so, then Power Automate is the right thing. And the newest one is Power Virtual Agents. And this is the low-code solution to build chatbots. And you can also call a flow from Power Automate from your chatbot and so on. So they are very close to each other. So you can build a business solution with many of these tools together. In my showcase, because we are coming to the live demo in a few seconds, I will focus on Power Apps. And maybe if there's time, we will see Power Automate. But what's really there is Dataverse. So maybe you already heard that the common data service is now renamed to Dataverse. And that's a huge database. You can create tables or you can use one of the existing ones. And then you can build your business application based on this data structure. the AI Builder, I have another session. I think some of the recordings are on YouTube, where you can use AI Builder to maybe automate scanning your forms, maybe invoices or service reports or other stuff, but it's not focus of this session here now. And if we talk about the Power Platform and about one special app we can build, then I want to recommend Microsoft Dynamics 365 because it's based on the Power Platform and it can be extended by the Power Platform. And it's really cool if you are looking for standard business processes, maybe for sales, or if you have some HR processes and so on, then you can use these modules. It's a little bit expensive to use these modules, but if you compare it with building all these applications by your own or by buying other solutions, it's not so expensive anymore. So please keep this in mind. Yeah, and now let's build a business application. That's the time where I go here to the PowerApps Studio. And if you are here on the home page, you see 3 different kinds of apps you can build. So we have a Canvas app, a model-driven app, and a portal. And I want to explain the difference between these options. So a Canvas app, to be honest, that was the first one I ever built. A Canvas app is an app where you can design every screen completely by your own, and it's dedicated for mobile usage. So if you build a Canvas app, then you have a first screen, and you can decide, maybe on my first screen, I want to add some buttons, and I want to use a picture behind every button. So maybe I want to use a background image for my whole app and so on. And then when I click on the first button, then I go to the second screen, and maybe I get some data of a SharePoint list, and I can edit this data and so on. And on another screen, I maybe I want to use the camera of my mobile device, take a picture, and store this later on in SharePoint. So you have different options, and it's a complete individual app you can build here. Model-driven apps. These are the focus of our session today. Model-driven apps are dedicated if you want to build a business solution and you focus more on the business process. So you will see that it's compared with the Canvas app, it's a complete other layout when you design this app. And you can change the forms, but you don't need to do this. You can build a model-driven app really, really fast. And last but not least, we have portals. Portals, for example, are dedicated if you want to show some data of your internal database from Dataverse to external users. So in the recruiting process, I would think that could be a great idea for the candidates. So I can publish my advertisements there in this portal. Then a candidate could apply for one of these jobs. And later on, he can also get some information about the status of his application. So that would be the idea for a portal. Yeah, and as I said, we go here with model-driven apps. And what do you think the next step could be here to go to apps, right? I won't do this, so I go to solutions because I think about a big picture of the recruiting process. And I want to create a solution, create a model-driven app there, but maybe later on I will create the portal there, or maybe I want to create a Canvas app for the departments when they are doing the interviews, so that they can use it on their iPad, for example. But I start with a model-driven app for the recruiters because Tanya asked me to do something. So now I go to solutions. And as you can see here, I already have a solution here. I won't use this for this moment, so that's my backup. If the demo god is not so so nice to us. So new solution, and I say, okay, that's for our event here, and I say, and now I have to select a publisher, and that's really important. You will see this in a few seconds why it's so important. Here you have some default publishers. I created an individual one, so I say, okay, that's CONET, and then I create my solution. So we should see this here in this list now. Yeah, now it's here. And I open my solution, and as I created it, now it's completely empty, so there are no components. And now what could we do? We could go here on new and add a lot of new stuff. So the next step could be to create a model-driven app, as I said, right? Yeah, but I won't do this at this moment because I want to add the data structure first. So if you create a model-driven app, think about which data do you want to manage in your app. And in the past, as it was called Common Data Service, you would have an entry here called Entity. Now it's renamed to Table. And that's why I would say, okay, I need to create a new table, but I already created it for the other demo solution. So I go here to add existing. And I say, okay, I want to add an existing table. And I am looking for one. I see already some of them here, but I think I switch so often between German and English. So here you see Bewerbung, but in English it would be called application. So it's the data table for the job position information a candidate applies to. And if I go to next, then here I have the option to include all relevant components belonging to this table. And I use this, and I will explain you it a little bit later why I did this here, but that's an important step here. So, and the other one I want to add is another table because I need the candidate information also. And I choose this, I check this again. And now I have here two options. And did you see what's going on here with the name? So here the name is called contact, and that's a table which was already existing in Dataverse as I got my tenant. So I only renamed the display name here. And here my application, there you see it's something different because I have some kind of a prefix, CSBA. And CSBA is belonging to my publisher. That's why it was important which publisher I select. If I go here in my solution and I create a new data table, then I'm using the prefix of the publisher, which is belonging to my solution. So please keep this in mind. And that's important if you have many business applications later on and you want to manage all the different applications, then it's important who built this application. So maybe you are using different publishers in your company, or maybe you say, okay, each of your service providers should use a special prefix. And so you can immediately see which entity is belonging to which solution here. So and now it's a time where I really say, okay, new, and I create my model-driven app. And now here it's the same stuff as the publisher again. Now I say, okay, and HR recruiting, and I say it's recruiting management because it's for the recruiters themselves. I can also do some other stuff like enabling my app for offline usage, but for this time it's not so important. Could also go with other icon and so on, but I can change this later on as well. Site done. And now if you know how to build Canvas Power Apps, that's completely different here. So we have this kind of a designer, but it's more to manage what is all in my app here. And I added two tables to my solution, but they're not here. So here's the old naming with entity. In a step before we had tables, but entities, that's completely the same. So I go here to entities and I add my two entities here. So you see it's added here. I go to candidate, I change this, and now I have these two entities here, but I have a warning symbol here, so I can't test my app so far. So what does this mean? Sitemap. Sitemap is your navigation in your app. So you have your entities here, but you can't access them until they are included here in the sitemap. And I say, okay, let's edit the sitemap. And we have here some default values. So you can build your complete own navigation here. I say, okay, that's HR management. I have here some master data. And I click here on the pencil symbol. And I could go with a value, but maybe I don't do this. I go here, and as you can see, I have property window here on the right. So I say, okay, I want to link an entity here. And I have also always, I don't have only the two options I already added to my app. I could also link to other entities, but I go to my two ones and I say, okay, Werbung. I have an ID. So if you are from a developer perspective, then you would use individual IDs and you have a naming convention for this. So here I say, okay, sub area and application. And I want to name it active applications. And as you can imagine here, it's also available for multi-language usage right here. I don't have installed multiple languages, but that would be an option if you have it here. So I have here my active applications. Now I want to go with my candidates. So I say, okay, let's add a sub area here. And I select entity. And here I select my candidate. Candidates. And here you see it can mess up really if you don't set individual ideas. So I say here, candidates. Okay, save. And if I don't publish it, it wouldn't be available for the other users. For this demo, it's not so relevant, but if you want to publish it later on for your users, then please don't forget to publish your sitemap. And now I use the breadcrumb and I navigate back to the app designer. So no warning symbol, everything is fine. So I say save and publish. If you have some problems, then the validate step can be really helpful. But for me, I know that should work. So I can go to publish now and I can use the play button. And at this time, as I published it, it's available to everybody who has access to the app. So after the publishing process, you have also the step to manage who can use this app later on. And what do we see here? We created a new app. We use 2 tables which were already existing. And if I start here my app, I see, okay, recruiting management, master data. So I see something of my sitemap. And let's start with the candidates. So why do we have data in here? We see the data because we are using existing tables, and that's a cool idea. If you're thinking about different business solutions and they are using the same data, so maybe you have a business solution for the recruiting process and you have a business solution to manage your employee data. So some of the candidates will get employed, and then you can use the same data in another business solution. Or if you're thinking about how often you need customer data in several business solutions or project data or something else. So if you have this huge database and you have your data in there, and you don't have this problem with data silos. You can build several apps, you can filter the data, you can manage all the stuff you need, but other solutions can reuse this data if you want to, and that's really cool. So no time for interfaces anymore. Yeah, and so that's all because I have this other solution. I already added some data in here. And if I say, okay, I want to create a new candidate, then that's a layout you may see in Dynamics also. So you have this panes and you have the fields in there. You can get different validations, what's going on. So you see, okay, this is a required field, for example. You have a timeline where you can take some notes and so on. And if you are familiar with SharePoint, then you know that there's always a title field in every list. And sometimes you have a problem to get rid of this title field. In Dataverse, and that's relevant for the model-driven apps, and it's also relevant for Dynamics, you have a name field that's always there, and you have an owner. So this candidate is a record in a data table. And you always have an owner for a record who is responsible at this several process step. And you can change this. And what's cool is that you can show the owner and in a prominent way here if you want to. Okay, and what you also can see, you can use Power Automate, so you can build flows which can be triggered manually or automatically if you want to, and you can also design this page in a complete different way if you want to. I show you if you step back here, how you can do this. So, but let's go to the applications. So if I go here to one of my applications, okay, we have hired. I go with one of these 2. You see here that you can design the form in another way. So you can go with different tabs if you want to. So that was one of the reasons why Tanya chose InfoPath, for example. We have some information which are only in a readable format. So on which day or time the record was created, for example. I choose that the timeline is here after the standard information, and I have 2 other tables which are belonging to my application, so the ratings and the documents, and I added them here in the second column, which is a little bit wider than the left column. But maybe you are already looking here on this bar, and that's the business process. So it's a very easy one. I decided that we have new, an initial rating, and we are doing some interviews, and then we take our decision. And you can see, okay, it's new, and it's since 49 days in the status initial rating. If I want to change this, here I click on this the status, and here in this card you can add several fields. and these should be the relevant fields to change to the next status. What do you need to fill out and so on? Because in some cases you have only a readable format here. That could be an idea. So I only see the application information, and making my decision would be done here in this pane. And then I can go to the next stage. So I do this here for the situation. And now you see, okay, less than 1 minute, we are in the status interviews. And that's relevant later on for some reporting, for example. So why is it so? Because we didn't do anything. And that was the reason why I set the option to include all components with my table for the application. And you will see this here. I go back to the app designer because I have to watch to look the watch now. And if you are going here with one entity row here, you have several options. So the forms, that's where you can design complete different forms, or you can change the existing ones. If you go here to edit, then a new browser window opens, and then it looks a little bit more than as you may know from a Canvas Power App. So then you can create a header, a footer, and you can design your whole page. Views, that's the one we have when we are here in this list, which we have here. Charts, that's where you are working with Power BI, and dashboards the same. So where is the process? That's a business process flow. So business process flow, you can create this via Power Automate. And I have one business process flow, and it's called Personalauswahl. So that's the German word for recruiting process. And fingers crossed, and we will now see the dashboard for how, or the designer, how to create this business process flow, because then you can design which stages are in your business process. And if you want to collect more data, we saw this in the pane. We had only one field, but you can add as many fields as you want. And you can also design which of these fields are editable by which user role, if some fields gets mandatory in the step. And you can also add conditions. So if I change the value of a special field to the value 1, then we go with the condition 1, and all the others go with the condition 2. So that's up to you how you design this. So it doesn't seem to show here. Give it a second try. So, but if it's not there, then I would say I go to my last slide.
Yes.
Is this okay?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Then I wrap up because I said to you there will be a checklist at the end.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
So the checklist is first one: take responsibility, be a citizen developer. So it's up to you. You have to start and decide that you want to build business applications. Then learn to use the tools of the Power Platform. For me, for example, it was PowerApps and then Power Automate. Maybe you have another order how to learn this. And create a quick win solution. So here in this demo, I only focused on how to manage applications. If I would have used more in my use case, then it would be a huge solution. It would take more time, and maybe it's not the same as my users want to have. And do this with others. So inspire your colleagues, talk to them, because if you build a team, you can inspire you can talk about this stuff, and as a team you achieve so much more. And last but not least, share your knowledge and talk about what you are doing, because even if you think that it's not so important what you already can do. There's always somebody who doesn't know this, and he would be really, really thankful if he gets this information from you. That's it. Thank you very much. Yeah. And here's my contact information. So if you want to talk about something, please contact me. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Nicole, and your session as well as your demo. Really wonderful. Thank you very much. Yeah. And
You're
your
welcome.
time. Yeah.